right, so welcome to the end of the day. The final presentation. Is an honor to close this day off with our IoT Design Manifesto 1.0. And when we sat together, I think it was around Christmas that we sat together, and Simon just asked me, like, what are you going to contribute to ThingsCon this year? And I was contemplating with these guys, like, what can we do to really make a dent in the connected products or the Internet of Things universe during ThingsCon. And quite naturally, we all felt the urgency to respond to what was happening in the field, and suddenly we became very old-fashioned and we came up with a design manifesto for IoT. So that's what we're presenting today. I know we're not the first design IoT manifesto, and we'll probably not be the one manifesto to rule them all, but we're going to attempt to make a manifesto that serves us as designers. And designers is a very broad term, because everyone who's involved in this field, who creates new products, who creates technology, is in a sense a designer. So therefore we put together this manifesto that we think can be a guideline for a more honest and a better IoT in general. Because I wonder, how will IoT disrupt new industries? How will it create billions of euros in new business opportunities? How will IoT improve the lives of everybody on this planet? I wonder who has the smartest socks. And to be honest, this is a bit of this nagging time we're in. We're in this time of amazing opportunities and do amazing stuff, and we have amazing promises, but we're not quite living up to the promise as we speak at the moment. So where are we at the moment in this field? You probably are all familiar with the hype curve, very much referenced in this field of IoT to say, like, to give a kind of meaning to where we're at. I think already, like, quite some years ago, we had the technology trigger, and that sent the pioneers up the curve, up the hill, like climbing the hill of inflated expectations. And we all followed along. We were there as well, I admit. And at some point, you reach the peak of a mountain of smart socks, and you are thinking, where are we going? The only way forward I see is straight into the trough of disillusionment. This is maybe we're gonna not have this magnificent world that we wanted to create by connecting everything with everyone in everywhere. But then, as designers, we think, no, it's not about technology. If we want to create actual products that are meaningful to people, we can overcome this empty void of, or this nasty stage where things won't turn out how we expected. And we hope with our manifesto we can build a gondola to the platform of productivity, where we can all thrive using our technology for the better. So today we're going to discuss, oh, we're going to do this once more. Right, yeah, we cannot be enough on the gondola. So we sat together with this group of 4 studios and a researcher of the Delft University of Technology that you've met today before. So we sat with this team of 9 people, and we really tried to reflect on what we saw was happening in the field, but also what was happening in daily practices in our own design studios. So we sit with clients, we discuss where to collect data, how to leverage technology to create more efficient ways of delivering parcels or to monitor shipping containers. And from that starting point, we set out to create a a way, a methodology, a tool to create better products and to have a better conversation with our clients and with the field and with the practice of design in general. So what we say, why is it so important now? What we see is that the world is getting increasingly connected, like everybody's addressing it, and offers amazing opportunities to create products for designers and entrepreneurs and engineers. Yet this whole new field is going to bring new questions and challenges to the table. And we feel this urgency to create honest and meaningful products for this space that actually deal with these questions. And again, we're not the first to take a stance in technology and, put forward their opinion like this. This is, for instance, a beautiful anecdote. This is a ring, the iron ring, that's given to Canadian graduates of engineering school, and it's a reminder to the ethics and work ethics for you as a civil engineer to do good work. It's believed to be made from a beam from a bridge that collapsed in Canada, but I just found out it's not true. But it's a beautiful story, and it kind of reminds these engineers to do their best to create good products, good, honest products that are of use for people. So we know our manifest isn't going to be the first one, but it's going to be useful. So what's this manifesto all about? We formulated 10 principles that are open for discussion. We're not putting this like in front of you and say, this is it, deal with it. We're going to be open about this, and we want to involve you to improve this and really make this, in the end, a code of conduct for our industry. It's a tool for conversation. I don't know how, like we know how our business looks like. We talk a lot with clients and organizations, and we have our own ideas, and it's nice to have a tool to really guide that conversation. And in the end, it's just a guideline. We are not putting forward a definite guide that really sets the boundaries around privacy or security, but it's addressing those issues, so you cannot create products that you say, oh yeah, the privacy thing, yeah, totally forgot about that. So let's move on, and we're with discussing the issues. And so we have the 10 principles, and we're going to discuss each of those principles with a case that we learn, that we know from what's out there on the market, but also examples from our own practices and the things that we took in consideration when creating products. So number one is, we don't believe the hype. And we are trying to provoke a bit here, yes, but we've seen these graphs fueling our industry, motivating our clients to get in touch with us, and they say, look, get me $1 trillion. And we are like, yes, I mean, we can get you maybe a part of that, but they say, no, there are going to be 20 billion connected products, and ours should be one of it, because if we're not connected, we're failing out. And oh yeah, we haven't mentioned, but like, do us the big bag, do us like, get us into the intelligent buildings. And then what we have to say is, look, these are inflated expectations. We just used the word from the hype curve, inflated expectations. Because money doesn't come from thin air. Last time in 2008. But like after that, it didn't come from, oh no, and then it was the ECB pressing money. All right, but in general, it doesn't come from thin air. And you actually have to make something that people care to use and care to buy, and that's worth their money, and that is worth being there, and that actually makes a process more efficient instead of maybe putting people out of a job to replace them by a robot. No, we have to create concepts that people care about. So we don't believe the hype, and I hope you support us on this, and we say we pledge to be skeptical of the cult of the new. Just slapping the internet onto a product isn't the answer. Monetizing only through connectivity rarely guarantees sustainable commercial success. Principle number one. Quite close to that, but more on a positive note, is we want to design useful things. And with useful things, as soon as we're going to discuss useful IoT products, you often encounter that the technology was not the starting point for the creation. And it's a bit of an oldie, it's a bit of a classic, but I think the pill bottles, the glow caps pill bottles, it is a good product. It's so simple. It connects with the concerns of people, it connects with the concerns of society and healthcare, and it actually helps people through connectivity. Oh, is it? Oh yeah, it's still working. So we think this product, in all its simplicity, is actually doing a great job of helping people out and move forward. We can learn from this. And what we try to do in our own practice, well, you know this product, right? So in our own practice, we also deal with the issue if that technology isn't necessarily the starting point, but it merely comes to the stage of being a material, like how Holly explained beautifully in her presentation. Data and connectivity and the whole way of integrating products into bigger systems, they become a subset or a feature of a product, just like it's being made of wood, or the fact that it weighs 10 kilo is a matter of a property of the product. But the concept has to be meaningful, it has to be useful. And then technology is the tool to make beautiful things. So, oh yeah, I think this one doesn't work anymore. So technology is not the starting point, and we care a lot about good product design. So we design useful things, and the principle that we formulated with that is value comes from products that are purposeful. And our commitment is to design products that have a meaningful impact on people's lives, and IoT technology is merely a tool to enable that. All right, so now I would like to give the stage to Anna of Beyond IO, who will discuss the next points of the manifesto.
Can I have this one? Okay. Thank you, Marcel. Next principle, principle number 3. We aim for the win, win, win. But what does this mean? And I'll just illustrate this with a nice example from a smart bike system from a company called Spinlister, and it's a cooperation with Van Moof, which is a Dutch bike manufacturer. All right. It's a smart bike which has a Bluetooth lock, and it has position tracking, which allows for a decentralized bike sharing system with no hubs or stations. So a renter can go to a bike, rent it, unlock the bicycle with a smartphone app, drive around, ride around, and unlock it again somewhere else. And this system has a clear win for all the parties involved. It has a clear win for the owner of the bike, who can rent out his bike, the renter, who can easily access a bike sharing system, and of course for the manufacturer of the bikes, who sells more bikes, hopefully. And see where we are. No, Bluetooth locking system. It's important to take into account that this win-win-win situation is also something that needs to be designed. And you need to design the business model too. And we think that designers are in a unique position to keep an overview of all the stakeholders and their interests in this process. And that way we can achieve this triple win-win-win situation. So to recap again, we aim for the win-win-win. A complex web of stakeholders is forming around IoT products. It goes from users to businesses and everyone in between. We design so that there is a win for everybody in this elaborate exchange. Next up, and I know you were waiting for it, security. It's a very straightforward point, and it can easily be summarized in we keep everyone and everything secure. It's very plainly said, just take proper care of security. And as Warren mentioned this morning, success here is not measured by a case, it's measured by total silence. So all the examples that I will show you are quite negative, because that's when the shit hit the fan. Let's start with a lighthearted example. Some of you might already seen this one. Let's go.
Curtains, lights, doors. It even unlocks my car. And the only one with access is me.
Well, it's a commercial for an insurer, and they've also picked up on the changes in that IoT bring. This is, of course, all funny, but what if your home or your family are invaded by in an even more dramatic fashion? This example is a little longer, and it's quite American, but I don't want to keep this from you.
Another similar story. Mom and Dad wake up in the middle of the night as they hear the chilling words, "Wake up, baby." This cyberper staring at this baby girl, their new infant child, asleep in her crib. How many hours has he spent watching the baby sleeping, seeing mommy give the baby baths, changing its diapers, rocking it, nursing it? All of this going down, learned from the baby monitor. I didn't even realize it's possible to break in and hack a baby monitor. To Melissa Neely, anchor with News Radio WLW. Melissa, what happened?
Well, Adam and Heather were jolted out of their sleep in the middle of the night by this insane man screaming, "Wake up, baby," from their 10-month-old daughter's bedroom. She checked her baby video monitor, and it was moving erratically. Her husband, Adam, rushed into their baby girl's room to see the monitor turn towards him. And the man started yelling profanities at Adam. And then he unplugged the camera to bring the terror to the end.
Because I didn't realize they could actually take control of the camera and move the camera around in the room. So how many nights had the mom come into the room to take care of the baby, to nurse the baby, to change the baby, and the whole time this guy is turning the camera to watch the technology. With me is Larry Fishelson, technology expert and co-founder and COO of Dynalink Communications. Larry, how does this work? How did he do it?
Nancy, it's crazy. What happened is he hacked into the system through the Wi-Fi. So what they did is by using the Wi-Fi passwords, it was set up remotely through their mobile devices. So once he was in, he was able to maneuver the camera every which way. This is a real scary thing out there, and people need to be aware of it. And that's why what happens is when you get these devices, you need to register it, because they did everything right here. They changed their passwords every which way. They had a firewall, but there was a firmware update inside the camera which had this glitch. They weren't aware of it, and with everything else.
Wait a minute, Larry, you're way ahead of me. How did the guy dumb it down for me, okay? I'm just a lawyer. How did the guy hack into the home baby monitor? How do you do that?
What happens is inside of the camera there's called firmware software. Now there was a glitch in the software that does data dumps onto the internet. So you got to be a real sophisticated hacker. They hacked into that software and got the passwords for this camera. And once again, it's not an everyday thing, but with sophistication it can be done, and it's very scary.
Yes, it's very scary indeed. But the reason why I showed all of this in the entire clip is the interesting thing about this case is that the end users, they did everything right. They changed their default password, they had a firewall, he says, everything. It's because of a vulnerability in the firmware update system or whatever that the baby monitor got hacked. And well, even more catastrophic things can happen if you know that SCADA systems that control dams and floodgates are also easily accessible from the internet. So what have we learned? With the physical things, the repercussions and the consequences of insecurity can be much larger and also physical. And a lot of the insecurity in these kind of products can be avoided if you take into the account that you have to make things secure from in the beginning of your design process. So summarizing, we keep everyone and everything secure. With connectivity comes the potential for external security threats executed through the product itself, which comes with very serious consequences. We are committed to protecting our users from these dangers, whatever they may be. Right. From security and protection from external threats, we quickly arrive at privacy, which is more about internal threats. We build and promote a culture of privacy. This is a Samsung Smart TV, and it can be controlled with voice commands. And the Samsung Smart TV caused quite a backlash in the beginning of this year because this section was in their EULA. Please be aware that your spoken words include personal or other sensitive information. That information will be among the data captured and transmitted to a third party. Samsung has, in the meanwhile, rewritten this clause, which means that they've specified who this third party is at the moment. But the ID stays the same, and it definitely feels as a breach of privacy for a smart TV user. To counter that, now I'll try to counter that with an example of one of our own projects at Beyond.io. It's called 12, and 12 is a reinterpretation of the old school cassette mixtape, and it's a new way of discovering and sharing digital music. And this is briefly how it works. You get this object from somebody, and you make it discoverable in the old school way, like this. You tap it to your phone, and that means that you can discover its contents on the 12 app. And 12 is called 12 because at any moment in time, there are 12 tracks on the tape. And it's not only a song, a music track, but also a combination of a music track, an image, and the location where that song was added. As a person who has added this tape to their collection, you have the opportunity to contribute one single track. Before, and it's not just a track, so it's a combination of a song, an image, and a location. And then you have to pass on this physical object again to the next person, a bit like a chain letter. Of course, because you've added this tape to your collection once, that means that you you're in the loop and you keep receiving updates each time the tape makes a new hop to the next person. So you see that a new track is added and you see where it's added, and that's it. And we also decided on purpose not to store any kind of information besides the playlists and their content, so the music, the songs, and the images. And only the ID of the different devices that encountered this tape. So there are no logins, there is no personal information, there is no tracking whatsoever. And we did that simply because it's not necessary. We don't need it to achieve the user experience that we wanted to achieve. So we think that privacy is part of your design. It's part of the design. And you need to consider it while you're designing. And it also has a lot to do with data collection, which is the next point. But more importantly, trust from a user transcends that one product, as it's part of your corporate image. And it becomes part of a company's DNA. And you probably all remember that one company that once said, "Don't be evil." So, all right, I'll summarize again our findings before I give the word to Ruben. We build and promote a culture of privacy. Equally severe threats can come from within, Trust is violated when personal information gathered by the product is handled carelessly. We build and promote a culture of integrity where the norm is to handle data with care.
Hi guys. Yeah, the 6th point says we are deliberate about what data we collect. It's a sensitive topic because with this IoT and the way we create new products, we also have access to a lot of data, and it's a very sensitive topic, and it enables us to access a lot of data. But like, how do we deal with it? And I'd like to give an example of. It's Netflix, and we all know Netflix. It's the biggest video streaming service at the moment. And with House of Cards, it's a series they play, and the way they approach their content is it's really statistic based. They get a lot of data from when people are pausing their videos, playing it, what times, how much they watch, and this gives them a lot of information, and they can target their users very specifically, which might be, it's a bit on the edge. But on the other hand, Netflix is really good at using that data and getting back to the users. And with House of Cards, what they did is they used all the data they had and acquired actually House of Cards and the rights of it and developed it into a series that their users were really waiting for or really wanted. And it ended up really well, and Netflix is just doing very well. And that's why oh, okay. I'm sorry, okay. So what we want to say is that if you have all this access to this data collected with a purpose, be really conscious about what you do and collect it to serve the end user. So the point we want to make is we are deliberate about what data to collect. This is not the business of hoarding data. We only collect data that serves the utility of the product and the service. Therefore, identifying what those data points are must be a conscious and deliberate choice. Then we go to the 7th point. I'm sorry. We make the parties associated with an IoT product very explicit. And the case we want to show here is the Amazon Dash button. It was talked about before. I think most people know the
Don't let running out ruin your rhythm. Introducing the Amazon Dash button for Prime members, a simple way to reorder the important things you always run low on so you'll never run out. Set it up to order what you want, then press it when you're running low. Get an order alert on your phone so it's easy to cancel if you change your mind. And with Prime shipping, you'll get new products delivered to your door before you run out and never miss a beat.
And we want to leave a bit in the middle of this, if this is a service that we're really waiting for or really good, and especially in the context of consumerism. But what's really important about this Dash button is the compromise they found between the IoT automated delivery story and, I mean, it creeps us out a lot in general. And they found a way to introduce a physical interaction and make the process of ordering very explicit. At the same time, they're also pretty straightforward with the brand of the product. It's really clear that there's 3 parties involved. It's Amazon, it's the party of the button, and it's yourself. So they're very clear about what parties are involved and who you're dealing with as a consumer, because the intangibility of the IoT is very complex, and we really have to communicate this clearly to the user, which leads to the point. We make the parties associated with the IoT product very explicit. IoT products are uniquely connected, making the flow of information among stakeholders open and fluid. This results in a complex, ambiguous, and invisible network. Our responsibility is to make the dynamics among those parties more visible and understandable to everyone, which leads us to the 8th point. And this is, we empower users to be the masters of their own domain. And I think a good example here is the IFT. And I think most of us know IFT, and it's an intelligent layer which empowers people to create their own IoT network and make users their orchestra of their their own IoT, basically. And what IFT really does well is that people can make their own sets of rules with their own subsets. And although IFT is doing it between IoT products, it's also a really good a good example of what you could do within IoT products. And it's really good to communicate to the user and give user the power to say where the borders are and give user control over those borders. Which leads us to the point, we empower users to be the main masters of their own domain. Users often do not have control over their role within the network of stakeholders surrounding IoT products. We believe that users should be empowered to set the boundaries of how their data is accessed and how they are engaged with wider products. Okay.
Right, so we're, does it work, this one? So we're almost there. The 9th one is we design things for their lifetime. We discussed a lot of cases when we were making the presentation. And eventually we came up with a rather old one, actually. Oh, this is wonderful. You see the pixels. So it's a case, it's from Neurocontrol, a company. They created the Freehand. What Freehand actually does or did is that for people who have who are paralyzed, it made them able to move their arm with the other arm. So by making movements with your left arm, you could still move your right arm. There were implants and there were tangible wires to make that control possible. What's a bit of a strange thing here is that the company just they exited, so the company discontinued to exist. And yeah, that's pretty hard. If you read on the internet the cases about those patients, people who are worrying okay, so I have some kind of implant in my body and nobody is owning this thing. So what in a few years? What if it starts going worse? So nobody's responsible for that because the company is just not existing anymore. Another part there is the physical wires people have. Apparently there's one of the patients who really got into it and he bought the stock with the supplies of the parts, and he knows okay, so for all the people who have the systems, we have a couple of years left with the supplies of the wires, and then we're paralyzed again. Well, it's a pretty compelling case of designing things for their lifetime. We don't say that you should design a product for the lifetime of a person, but at least think about the long run. Think about what's next, and it's a really important thing because this morning also in one of the talks it was mentioned that there's a lot of startups in IoT who are really in for an exit and yeah, let's sell our company. But what about an exit strategy for your users? What's their next step? What happens when your product discontinues? We should be responsible about it and be aware of that. It was also mentioned in the other case, is there an afterlife? So what if my product is broke, or when there's a new edition, can I transform it into something different? Can it be reused? Or a nice example also, this time a positive one from Samsung, is that the TVs they have with the Evolution kit, so they really thought this well through. So if the Samsung TV is evolving, you can just replace its memory or its intelligence with a new Evolution kit, and you just plug it in and you can still use that product. So that's important to think about. So with this 9 point, it's about designing things for their lifetime. So currently physical products and digital services tend to be built to have different lifespans. And in an IoT product, features are codependent. So lifespans need to be aligned. We design products and their services to be bound as a single durable entity. So that's the 9th one. And the last one, maybe the most important one, I don't know, is about us, about human beings. We have a nice case for this one as well. Hope it starts playing. So this is a case from a big e-commerce party where technology is actually being used to make the people run, to make the order pickers run for their next product. They are under a lot of stress, and technology is really their supervisors in the order picking. Yeah, it's actually horrible, because technology should intrinsically enhance human drivers and not not overrule them. So you should use technology for people and not to overrule them. That's a really important one. One of the cases we at the afdeling worked on is from Rural Spark. It's for us an example where technology is being used in a good way, because my colleague Marcel is giving a talk on this tomorrow, so he can go in depth on that. But what Rural Spark does is that they make so let's say connected devices for rural India, so people can charge their solar panels, and they have like a router to charge lamps. And what happens there is, maybe it's also a good example, because here in the Western countries we're really spoiled with all luxury things, and there it's on a way more basic level. People really need things, but their technology has a crucial role in enhancing those people, in really empowering people and local communities to be more self-sustaining, to make some money, and to have a better life, actually. So this case, to summarize, in the end, we are human beings. Design is an impactful act. With our work, we have the power to affect relationships between people and technology, as well as among people. We don't use this influence to only make profits or create robot overlords. Instead, it is our responsibility to use design to help people, communities, and societies thrive. So this was the last point, actually. So we have our manifesto. They're over here, and yeah, it's as Marcel introduced. This is just our opinion on it. So it's guidelines, and we're actually really curious about the good cases that you as a designer or developer can come up with. So what's next? That's also an important one. If the manifesto is passing. So we have this website, iotmanifesto.com.org, both of them. If you agree with us, or if you think this is a good thing, you can always sign the manifesto. What's important for us is that we create this thing where we as a community will start discussing what is good and bad. You should come with your own examples of, hey, we had this project for a client and we had really difficulties to convince them of the privacy issue. We think it's really relevant to come up with this in our field, and to come with cases and also discuss how to deal with this, because we're really in this together. Tomorrow we have a workshop at 12 in room number 1, where we also elaborate on this. So we're going to sit together with teams, discuss all the points. So make sure you collect one of the 2,000 printed manifestos. Plenty of manifestos. We also have nice stickers. It's always nice. To summarize, or to wrap up, we'd say all aboard the gondola. So join us. We're all in this together, and there's a lot of incredible opportunities for IoT devices, for meaningful and conscious products. We informed you, so now you cannot say that you didn't know about these 10 points, and we hope you join us in further discussing this and making version 2.0. So. Thank you very much.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. You can really tell you put a lot of work and effort in this, and thank you so much for bringing this here. We're really, really happy to have this, and really happy, I think, to keep discussing this. Probably perfect fit with the audience, and I would be very amazed if there weren't any questions or ideas on where to take this or how to apply this from here. I mean, I do have a couple, but I think... All right, there was a question somewhere over there.
Thanks for a great talk, and really great manifesto that you guys have been working on. It's really lovely. I was thinking about the privacy and the security things, and I think it was point 6 that you mentioned that you should basically make everything secure, which is kind of hard, but anyway. With all this surveillance and NSA and everything going on, how do you see yourself solving this problem? Because as of now, the internet is pretty much, robbed of its privacy and private security. So aren't we a bit late to the party, basically? Like, we should definitely, be concerned of these privacy things, but aren't we already, haven't we lost the battle already?
Yeah, Anna?
All right. So does that mean that we should give up?
No, but what can we do about it? It's more like do you have any suggestions as to because one thing is to design good security in your product, right, and do it as best that you can, but like on a broader scale, we already, we have sort of lost the battle in the privacy sense, right?
Yes and no. It kind of depends how you approach it. I think as a creator or designer of an IoT product, you can make sure that at least your part is taken care of and that you've done your job. I don't think that with this manifesto we want to address things like government surveillance and things that are much more on a higher level or have politics or geopolitics involved in them. But you can make sure that it will be damn hard for those governments or other parties to spy on you or to hack your connected socks. So we discussed all of those things, but on purpose we decided to limit the manifesto to designing IoT products. And I think a lot of things can, with good design and thoughtful decisions, a lot of things can already be achieved there.
Hey, thanks so much. This is fabulous stuff to see. It makes me think and start wondering about there's IoT as made by makers like the people in this room and designers. Particularly, this has a strong focus on consumer products. But IoT is actually kind of way bigger than that. And when you think about M2M and industrial stuff and things that are being machine to machine, things that are being done globally by giant enterprise companies already, sensors and networks and all of that, it would be great if this manifesto, if there was pressure for this manifesto to also be adopted by the giant 800-pound gorillas in the IoT world. And so my question, I guess, is, it's easy to kind of all get together and say, yes, we have a shared purpose and a shared ideology about this, but what is the best way to actually get people who don't have any motivation necessarily to do this at this point? Like they're not interfacing with clients, they're not needing to, they've been making control systems for factories for years and they can continue to do that. Are they on the radar for the IoT manifesto?
Yeah. Does this one work? Yeah. Okay, so at first we tried to frame this manifesto more on a B2C level. That's one thing, but I think what's important is that we actually want you guys to take this with you to your clients and just try to make it an open conversation, because more often the companies themselves, they would be really surprised to see these things because they are just in their frame of reference making products because the company needs to make money, and even just shaking them up a little bit would be good. Of course, we're not talking about the really big companies, but just having the conversation is like one step ahead, I think, than don't doing anything at all. So that would be our contribution.
If I can add to that, I think well over half of our clients is in the B2B market, and most of the cases we deal with is like improving process efficiency or like doing that kind of stuff. But then, and that's great. And then, I mean, that is a system usually about exchanging data and combining data and using it and going across companies to really try to improve the way systems work. But in the end, most of the time, there are people involved at the boundaries of the whole system. It's people that you want to, you know, create a cheaper or a better or a more efficient product for. And there is a value exchange going on at the edge of the network that is paying with privacy and getting a certain product. And now we're gonna, especially on the boundaries, on the edge of the net, we're gonna take this and we say, look, you know, yes, we're gonna design the system, yes, we're gonna improve efficiency of the process, that's all part of it, but as soon as it involves people, you know, let's be open about it. And a very striking case I think that we will encounter is, for instance, how about if you would do a project with public services or like a train service, like a train company, who considers the people in their train, you know, they're just the ants in our little petri dish that we can study, because as soon as they're in our petri dish, then, you know, we can observe them and we can collect the data on them, because they're not Anna Tite or Jan Bellon. No, they're like ant number this and this, and he's a traveler, and now we can isolate around it and improve our service by tracking those people. And we saw those cases being proposed by our clients to work on. And in the past, I have to admit, we gladly cooperated with doing that stuff. And now, well, the last 2 months, sitting with these guys, like every week practically, made us really change our mind about this. If we should really, you know, go forth with this, with approaching our services, the creation of new products like this. So yes, it's useful.
Yeah, I wanted to add that the principles are on such a level that a lot of B2B clients can definitely relate to it, because of a lot of things. They can recognize a lot of these principles because they also have issues with that. The 800-pound gorilla also has issues with privacy, and for us it's at least a thing to slam on the table and say, like, okay, before we continue with the Petri dish experiment, let's talk about these 10 points, and maybe let's talk about it as human beings, and then see what we can do.
Is there a follow-up question? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on the being late for the party about security. The FBI is currently freaking out not about the availability of security or encryption, but about the default encryption of devices. So this is a real problem for them. And that's, I think, very hard to solve for them. So I'd say we're definitely not late for the party. And the good you can do is actually make these security measures easy to use and widespread and make them the default. And you can really make a difference and really improve the lives of people and the security of your products.
Great, great. I would love to have you on the workshop tomorrow. If you can join, please do. Okay. Thanks. There was a question in the back here?
Yeah, there was. Exactly.
I was wondering, because I like the manifesto, that's for sure. But I was wondering, because you're all consultants, or sort of getting paid to do your work.
Most of the times, yeah.
By the clients you work for. I've had a lot of situations where the client wanted to do something that I was not really sure that they should, but I did it anyway because they paid the bill and it's their choice if it's their project. What will happen now if they want to create a situation that is against the manifesto? How will you approach that? Will you say, okay, I don't think it's right, but I will do it anyway?
Yeah, it is up to you how you use it. But we recently put it on the table with a new client saying, look, you know, whatever we're gonna do, we tried it. These are our like boundary conditions, and they said, all right, fine, let's see let's see if we can work that. So,
and I also think that it will be almost impossible to achieve all 10 points 100%. It's always going to, there is always going to be compromises, but it does allow to, like I said before, have a starting point, have a talk about it, and often it's better for the business if they also follow these points. We think, and it's our job to convince them about that, of course.
Can I quickly add? I think also one of the things is companies come to us or us as experts, and they're often not aware of those things. So one of the jobs for us is as well to make them aware of these rules and these things that are involved when you go into IoT. And often clients don't have to be convinced, they're more just have to be made aware of it, and then they're willing to operate. But if they're not made aware of it, they don't know, and they just don't know. So that's one of the things as well, just make them aware.
Yeah, I think it will help.
Power to the people.